I have an article here from the Washington Examiner. It says, start prepping. Electric grid is prime target of terrorist. Profound threat, says counsel. This article was written yesterday, December 10th, 2018. It says, in a new report that warns that the electric grid is the prime target of terrorists, Americans are being urged to prepare for the up to 6 months without electricity, transportation, fuel, money, and health care. People no longer keep enough essentials within their homes, reducing their ability to sustain themselves during an extended, prolonged outage. We need to improve individual preparedness, said a just published report to President Trump. There needs to be more individual accountability for preparedness, adds the report. Name of the report is Surviving a Catastrophic Power Outage from the President's National Infrastructure Advisory Council and published by the Department of Homeland Security. The report looked at the potential of a power outage of up to 6 months and recommended Americans have enough supplies on hand for a minimum of 14 days, a standard for some prepper organizations. Building a culture of preparedness includes objectives to incentivize investments that reduce risk, include pre-disaster mitigation, closing the insurance gap, helping people prepare for disasters and better learn from past disasters, improve continuously, and innovate, said a key recommendation. Here we have the recommendations overview. I'm going to leave a link in the description so you can check this out for yourself. The report, a draft to be voted on this week by the council, is the second in 1 month to warn of a profound threat to the electric grid from terrorism and naturally occurring events like a solar storm or a solar flare. A prior governmental report also called for presidential action to protect the grid. That warned of a threat to the world order in an attack. Together, they draw emergency attention to the threat and impact a national blackout would have. This profound risk requires a new national focus. Significant public and private action is needed to prepare for and recover from a catastrophic outage that could leave the large parts of the nation without power for weeks or months and cause service failures in other sectors, including water and wastewater, communications, transportation, healthcare, and financial services that are critical to public health and safety and our national and economic security, said the Advisory Council. The report is an urgent call to action to organize a uniform reaction to a grid attack, harden it from attack, warn of the threats, and push regular Americans into preparing for the worst. It also calls for federal spending instead of a reliance on rate hikes by individual utilities to fix their systems, and said that $1 spent to protect the grid will save $6 in the case of recovery. The power grid is a prime target for attack by nation states, and it is not fair for ratepayers to bear the full burden for this national security function, said the report, which looked at the potential of a catastrophic half-year blackout that could impact 75 million. The attack could also come with no notice and last half a year. Long duration, lasting several weeks to months, at least 2 months, but more likely 6 or more, due to physical destruction to equipment such as transformers and transmission lines, or the severity of the event resulting in limited workforce to repair damage or inability to create or transport replacement parts, the report said. This profound threat requires a new national focus. The NIAC found that our existing plans, response resources, and coordination strategies will be outmatched by an event of this severity. Significant action is needed to prepare for a catastrophic power outage that could last for weeks or months. According to DHS, the Council provides to the President of the United States, through the Secretary of Homeland Security, with advice on the security and resilience of critical infrastructure sectors and their functional systems, physical assets, and cyber networks. While the prior study was prepared by federal agencies and the military, the new report was prepared by industry and governmental leaders. Both raised similar concerns. Much of the report's recommendations focus on the need for a central clearinghouse or authority to guide the nation in a blackout, but it also reveals how unprepared people and governments are despite the prepper movement in the nation. Some of those warnings from the report are below. Given the growing frequency and severity of disasters and other risks, there needs to be an increase in individual accountability, enterprise, and community investment in resilient infrastructure. There is a misconception that events occur infrequently. There needs to be more individual accountability for preparedness. Resilience at the state and local level will be critical to enable people to shelter in place and facilitate faster recovery. Any event that requires a mass evacuation will use up critical resources, clog transportation pathways, and reduce the workforce necessary for infrastructure recovery. Electricity, fuel, clean drinking water, wastewater services, food, refrigeration, emergency medical services, communications capabilities, and some access to financial services have been identified as critical lifeline services that will be needed to sustain local communities and prevent mass migration. I'll leave a link in the description for this article. So an EMP attack or some other situation that knocks out the power grid has been talked about for years. I'm no survival expert. I'm no professional prepper. I will encourage you to, make sure you have enough food and water to sustain yourself for a couple of weeks, or if not 6 months as suggested in the report. Seek out these YouTube channels who are preppers, who are more survivalist oriented, and just start learning from them the lessons that they can teach you as far as how to navigate through this situation that's pretty, it's a good possibility that something like this could happen somewhere in the near future or maybe in the distant future. If not, it still doesn't hurt to be prepared anyway with some extra food and water and some protection for yourself. So I'll just leave it at that. Thanks for tuning in. I'll leave a link in the description. I'll see you next time. Thank you.